Alright, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I'm trying a reading challenge where I'm going to attempt to read The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon in one day. I already have a backup plan if I don't finish it all today, which is kind of likely, kind of not, I'm not quite sure. But if I don't finish it all today, I'll probably finish it on Wednesday whenever we have a long drive to make. I've seen a few different people do this challenge, and I don't think it's necessarily an official challenge, but I still want to give it a try. I first saw on YouTube a few months ago TheMagiKat. They tried to read the entire book in a day. I don't quite remember if they succeeded or not. That was where I was first interested. And I've just been seeing people talk about, the book on Instagram for a while now, most of this year actually. And then on TikTok recently, within the past few weeks, I've seen two accounts post their videos of trying to do this as well. And their names were Caitlin Tracy and I think Antonia's Reading. I'm going to try to have all of the videos that I'm referring to linked in the description box so that we can go check them out. And since they're the first people I saw actually do this, I wanted to give it a try and see how this goes. And so I have a few disclaimers to make first. I don't read a lot of adult fantasy. I'm trying to think of if I've read any adult fantasy recently, and I don't think I have. So this will be my first adult fantasy I've read in a while or ever, I'm not quite sure which. But the Priory of the Orange Tree follows three characters. One is a queen and she needs to conceive a daughter. Their society, from what I can tell, appears to be a bit of a matriarchy, and so she needs to conceive a daughter. And then her, the queen's one of her handmaids is, I guess, uses magic to protect her somehow without the queen knowing. And there's another character who has something to do with dragon riding. I've heard this described as a feminist and also I think sapphic fantasy novel, and so I'm really interested to read it, and I'm going to see how far I get in 24 hours. Ideally, I'd like to finish it, but like I said, if I don't, it's not the end of the world. I will finish it later this week. But it's about 9:25 right now. I'm about to sit down and start this book. My start time I think will be, I'm gonna go and put it at 9:30. That way I can have a few more minutes to get comfortable, and then I will check in with you at some point. Typically most books I check in, at the 1/3 and 2/3 mark. I don't think I'm gonna do that for this book. I'm just gonna check in whenever I get around to it, or whenever I feel like I need to, just because the 1/3 and 2/3 mark of this book will almost be like reading a whole nother book by itself. It's how many pages is this? About 800 pages, and so that's really all I have to say for now. I'm going to read and I will catch up with you later. Alright, hey, it is now about 4:15 in the afternoon and I have not made quite as much progress as I would have liked to have made today. I'm so far about almost 120 pages into the book. I'm barely 10% in. I actually meant to get on Goodreads and put in the page number so I could see what percentage I'm in, but I forgot. But I am enjoying the story. I did make this mistake earlier though of going outside whenever Chris took her outside and outside with them. And I thought it'd be nice and relaxing to read outside, but no, I was too distracted. And so I didn't get as much reading done out there as I would have liked. And then my sister called. Both of our comforters say to wash in a front-loading washer, and neither of us have a front-loading washer, and she was washing her comforter at the laundromat today, and so she offered to take mine with her. And so that meant I needed to go ahead and start washing bedding, which meant that in order for her to have a basket to carry my blanket in, I had to empty my clean clothes basket, which meant I had to I had to sort my clean clothes, and I also needed to sort the stuff in the dryer that I forgot about yesterday in order to dry our blankets, because our dryers work just fine for our blankets, for our comforters. We just don't want to tear them up in the washer. But basically, I keep getting distracted and I have not made quite as much progress as I would like. But so far, I'm really enjoying the story. I think Ede so far is my favorite character, but at the same time, she's also the main character mentioned on the back of the book that we have so far spent the most time with. Queen Sabran, I'm not quite sure how I feel about her. She has a very limited worldview because of, I guess, how she's grown up and then the life she's currently living. And then the Innis people, Queen Sabran is Innis, that's where they live, so I guess she's Innish. And they're very they seem to be a highly religious country and very superstitious and stuff. And so it's kind of interesting reading. I don't really know I can't really remember if there's been any chapters that are kind of vaguely from her point of view. everything that involves Queen Sabran seems to revolve around Ede's point of view so far. And then Tana's point of view, I'm hoping I'm saying her name correctly. Hers is really interesting, but I haven't spent as much time in her point of view as I thought I would. But I do realize that I'm still very early in the book. We don't have that many more plans today. It's actually tax-free weekend, so we are really not planning to go to town. We might go to town like long enough to grab, like we might go get Chinese food for dinner and like, you know, just take it home. But we're gonna stay home most today because we don't want to deal with town traffic. Chris and I don't. But I cut up like a bowl of peaches, or not peaches, excuse me, plums to eat while I read. And I'm about to just lay in bed and continue reading. I don't quite know how far, like I don't quite know what my goal is, because I feel like saying that my goal is to finish reading this book by 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning is unrealistic, because I in no way intend to pull an all-nighter. I may stay up to an unreasonable hour reading, but I have no intention of staying up till 9:30 tomorrow morning to finish this book. So I would say, I think my real goal probably at this point is to get maybe between 400 to 600 pages into the story before 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. If I finish, that's a bonus, but I know that if I can get 600 pages in, I know for sure I can finish it on Wednesday whenever we go to Rowan's doctor's appointment in Houston, because we'll have a 3-hour drive there, then a 3-hour drive back. And that would give me plenty of time to just sit and read, because I'm very anxious about driving. I've driven to Houston once. It was probably the worst experience of my driving life. I hope I never have to drive to Houston again. And so Chris, he put in a time request off work to go with us. And so he's driving, and so I don't, be an anxious backseat passenger side driver. I'm going to just read. And so I'll either be reading this book or something else. And I may be telling you all of this for nothing, because like I said, there's definitely a chance I could finish this, tomorrow. I could, just be reading late tonight and be like, oh no, I need to finish this now. But the goal is really just, I guess, or the plan, I guess, is just to see how far I get between, 9:30 this morning to 9:30 tomorrow morning. Anyways, I'm about to get back to reading. It is 11:45 Saturday night, and it is becoming increasingly more and more unlikely that I will finish this book before 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. I'm currently just over 200 pages in, and I have learned that as much as I can binge read a book, I think I'm too intimidated / got too into my mind about trying to binge read an 800-page book. I most likely will not be finishing this tomorrow, because I have no intentions of pulling an all-nighter. Sunday is my day where I kind of get ready for the week, and I know that I just stay home, but like it's my day where I mentally prepare for the week and kind of make my list of all I need to do. I kind of get our dinners in order, and I kind of get like our lunches in order, and it's like the last day of Christmas weekend, obviously, and so I want to be functional and present tomorrow with Chris and Rowan. So it is, like I said, increasingly unlikely that I'll finish this book. I am, as much as I want to just lay in bed and read all day, I get distracted either by going and see what Chris and Rowan are doing because I'm nosy, or like my sister, took my comforter to the laundromat, and so then I felt obligated to wash the rest of my bedding, which made me obligated to sort laundry I had been putting off. I finished it yesterday, and so that put me behind and let me procrastinate. And then Chris and I went to town. Kate, my sister, sat with Rowan, and so Chris and I rode to town to get a couple things we needed at Walmart that I forgot to pick up the other day. And then we got Chinese food for dinner. I was gonna film it, but then my sister was here and I got self-conscious, and so we drove through, picked up and brought it home. My sister doesn't like the restaurant we go to. It's like a local restaurant, like a locally owned restaurant, so I don't want to say what it is just because it's a small town. But my sister prefers Panda Express, so we got her Panda Express. Then Chris and I got Chinese food, and then we came home, and I've been distracted all evening. I think I read like 50 pages or so in the bathtub earlier because I get a lot of reading done in the bath. But basically, I'm incredibly unlikely to finish this tonight or like tomorrow morning or whatever. So we will be dragging this vlog along for however long it takes. updates will be coming at, I don't know when, just whenever I think I have something interesting to say. By the way, I haven't even talked about the book once in this entire like little update. Basically, I am really enjoying it. I enjoy it. So like the book, the chapters are kind of divided and called like, you know, West versus East. And the West chapters follow Queen Sabran and Eid and these other characters named Loth and Kit. And I'm definitely a little bit more interested in what they're dealing with. Most of these chapters can do follow either Eid's like, you know, point of view or Loth's point of view. And by their points of view, I mean their third person points of view. I'm a little more interested in their chapters at the moment. I definitely prefer reading them. And then the East chapters are following, I think, really 2 or 3 points of view. We have Tanae's point of view, which is interesting, but I feel like there's not really a lot happening in her point of view yet. She's, you know, still trying to figure out how to be a dragon rider, and it's just, she's had, I think, the fewest chapters from her perspective. We've had just like the fewest chapters from her perspective, and so they are not, I just haven't gotten very interested in her character. And the other character we follow is like this man who's been exiled, and he got caught doing something in this place he's been exiled to, and it involves Tane and someone else and another person who is from the West, and I don't like him as much. I'm having a harder time enjoying him, and so those 2 things have kind of put the East, where I'm not as interested in the chapters from those characters' point of view, but I'm still interested. I want to see what happens with them. It's just I go through the West chapters a little bit more quickly just because I'm more interested in those characters. In this book, the East and West are really mainly divided over one thing, and that is, I guess, dragons, because the West sees worms and dragons all as worms. They're all evil and they're all going to overthrow their queendom, whereas the East sees worms as one thing and dragons as the others. Dragons are to be respected and cared for, and they are allies, whereas the worms are evil and they will work with the dragons to get rid of the worms. And so it's kind of interesting seeing that. I'm not unhappy with the progress I've made today. I did want to make it closer to halfway through though, if I'm being honest. Oh well, I'll talk to you in a little bit once I've read some more. Alright, good morning. It is now about 10 a.m. on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and I'm just, I guess, hopping on to update you guys and I guess let you know the official page count for what I read in my 24-hour period. I read a few more pages this morning. I woke up at 8 and I was able to read about 70 pages before Rowan woke up, and so I am ending this reading challenge on page 273. I will still read this book and like continue this vlog. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna keep reading this book today or if I kind of want to try like something I guess a little bit lighter and then come back to it. And there's not really an update on the characters right now because like a lot has happened, but also if I update every time a lot has happened, there's no telling how long this video would be because this is a big book. And so I guess, like, you know, the main things to know is that we've spent a little bit more time with Tanae. So on the back of the book, it talks about this, like, you know, decision that she's forced to make a choice that could see her future unravel. So far, we still haven't gotten to see her make that choice, whereas we've seen, you know, examples of Queen Sabran's and Eid's plots. You know, Eid has been shown protecting the Queen. The Queen has made steps towards fulfilling her duty of creating an heir. As far as like Tanae's pace goes, I'm not quite sure how important she really is to the story yet. Like, I know obviously she will be because I mean she has like her whole little mini paragraph back here. It's just she hasn't had the same page time as, like, you know, Queen Sabran and Eid. And then there's like these other characters who aren't really mentioned on the back who've had a lot more story time than Tanae has, like Dr. Roos and then Loth. Also, Loth's storyline recently just got a whole lot more interesting. It was already interesting, but like some higher stakes were added to it. Dr. Roos, I feel like he's gonna be important to, you know, I guess protecting everyone from the one with no name or whatever it is that is the rising worm. But I don't really like him very much. He's like very much just an ornery old man, and not in a fun, cute grandpa way. Like, he's just an angry, ornery old man at this point. That's the perspective I have of him. All right, good morning. It has been a few days since I last updated you guys. We had Rowan's palette appointment yesterday in Houston, which is about 3 hours away from where we live. And I thought I would do more reading while we drove, but unfortunately I did not, and I'm just over a third of the way into the book now. I was going to wait a little bit longer. I was thinking until I got to like page 500 plus to update you guys, but I wanted to go do a quick update. So I don't think too much more has really happened since I last spoke to you guys, other than the fact that we've seen a little bit more development with Tane's plot and her character. This thing she did at the very beginning of the book is finally coming back to get her, and she is, like, I guess at risk of, you know, losing her chance to be a dragon rider, depending on how this all plays out. And but then also, like, you know, like maybe her dragon will protect her. Will that work out? We don't know yet. And also I don't know how to really speak much more about it without spoiling it. And then Sabran, her character is finally starting to make progress to me. I've had like kind of mixed feelings on her character because, like, in one part, you know, her character is, you know, just kind of spoiled, a little bit of a brat in some ways, but at the same time, she's royalty, she's a queen, she's grown up her whole life being treated a certain way, so why would I really expect her to be a different way? But I'm starting to see more development with her character. I will say though, I'm kind of bummed that so far in the book that there hasn't really been anything from Sabran's third person POV. Sabran, Eid, and Tane are all three like mentioned on the back of the book. They all three have their own little paragraph. And so far, Eid and Tane are the only two who have like their own third-person POVs. And then these two other characters, not even mentioned on the back, have their own third-person POVs, and these are like Dr. Roos and Loth. So I'm interested to see if, you know, Sabran will eventually maybe have her own little bit of a POV. I have also heard, because I put a couple of posts on Instagram, I put a like, you know, what I'm currently reading post and a like reading update reel on my Instagram, and I have heard that Sabran's character does get a lot better and a lot of people really end up loving her, and so I really have high hopes and I am enjoying this book. Alright, hey, so I'm about halfway through the Priory of the Orange Tree now. I finished part 2 yesterday, and once again, I'm still really enjoying this book. A lot of stuff kind of goes down at the end of part 2, which is about the halfway point through the book. Things aren't looking good for a lot of people, but also we're literally only halfway through this big book. So, I mean, things still have a chance to obviously fix themselves. Eid has had to leave Sabran for one reason or another. Tane, this thing she did at the beginning of the book, it was starting to come back to get her, and it kind of did come back to get her, and I'm interested to see what happens to her now. As well as Nikolai's. Karma finally seems to be getting him a little bit as well, and I'm just, once again, I'm really interested to see where the story goes from here. This really tragic and sad thing happened to Queen Sabran recently. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to her as the leader from there. Also, I have also finally decided on a more set update pattern where I went ahead and marked, for some reason part 1 and 2 are massive in this book, or maybe it's just part 1 because I can't quite remember when I started or ended part 1 and started part 2, but part 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all approximately 100 pages each, and I went ahead, I thought I had tabs but I couldn't find them, so I went ahead and just stuck sticky notes up here, and I think I'm just gonna do all my other updates at the end of each part until I finish the book. But this is a book I'm really enjoying. I did go ahead and sign up for like a free Audible trial so I could listen, like I'd have the audiobook, that way I could kind of, you know, still be doing other stuff and listening to this. The audiobook is actually pretty good. It's helped a lot with me like trying to figure out how to pronounce names. Like it kind of like Trude, it kind of helped me figure out how to pronounce her name more correctly, as well as like Eads and everything, or I think the audiobook narrator says Eid. And I think I've been catching myself going back and forth between Eid and Eid, but I'm enjoying it so far. Since I'm no longer trying to read this in a certain amount of time, I feel okay like listening to the audiobook, because like, you know, whenever I was trying to read this all, like see how far I could get in a day, an audiobook isn't cheating, but it felt like cheating in the sense that like, you know, that my reading pace isn't the same reading physically as it would be with an audiobook. But now that I'm just trying to, you know, just get through the book and enjoy it, I think that I can like get away to listen to the audiobook a little bit as well, and just kind of alternate depending on, you know, if I want to be in the story while I do something else, or if I just want to sit in bed and read the physical book. Alright, so I'm about 3/4 of the way through the Priory of the Orange Tree. I was going to update after part, I was going to update after part 3 and after part 4, but I just went ahead and listened to the audiobook for parts 3 and 4 yesterday. Part 3 really seemed to focus a lot on Ede and her magic and like where she came from, because she essentially, for whatever reason, kind of goes back to the orange tree, the Priory of the Orange Tree, for a little bit. And then part 4 is like kind of how, so you know how if you've heard of like the Save the Cat method of writing a novel, there's like the whole gathering the troops thing. That's what literally all, which I don't think they're quite to that point technically, but part 4 just felt like, you know, a massive gathering of the troops. Like all these characters who've been apart, so many of them are coming back together, except for Tane and Roos. They both are kind of have their own things still going on. Roos is still a very, to me, he's just very unlikable. Tane, I'm hoping for the best for her. I really feel like I don't know her character very well at all, though. Like, I know a good bit about her, but, like, I feel like just we haven't really spent hardly any time with her. And, like, it's not like, you know, Queen Sabran, where, you know, we see pretty much so much of her from Ede's point of view. So even though she's mentioned on the back and she doesn't have her own POV chapters, we still see so much of her from like Ede's point of view, and even Loth's point of view. He talks about her quite a bit. But with like Tane, no one else is really talking to her or about her who has a POV. And so I just feel like in general we don't know a lot about her. Anyways though, I am hopeful that I might be able to finish the book today. Ooh. Rowan and I are gonna try to go on a walk after breakfast. I look rough, I'm sorry. Rowan and I are going to try to go on a walk after breakfast. One of my goals... Yeah, we are going to go on a walk. Anyways, though, I will update you probably at the end of this book. I finished The Priory of the Orange Tree about an hour ago, and it's going to be a 5-star read for me. This is a massive book. I failed at my challenge to read it all in a day, but it was still a successful read because I love this book. I just read the last 2 parts back to back. The last 2 parts are really just full of action. So much stuff happens. I give a very slight spoiler here for anyone who might be interested, but there is no major character death, which I really appreciated. Like, everyone in this book is affected by death by someone, whether it was before or during this book, but no one in this book was a major character who died, which I really appreciated it. Niclay's Roos, by the end of this book, is showing himself to be a potentially changed person. I still don't like him, but he has the potential for change, so maybe he'll do it. Tane plays a huge role in the end of this book. I feel like for the first half of the book, she really didn't play that big of a role. Like, she just wasn't really seen as much as I would have liked for her to have been. But by the end of the book, she played just this massive role. She was incredibly important to the ending of what happens. Ede and Sabran, their ending, I don't know like how to talk about it, but just know that I love this book. It was such a great read, and I'm so glad I read it. This book is massive. You know, it's 800 pages. There is, which I didn't really notice until like I was already halfway through the book, but there's like this thing at the book where it has like, you know, a bunch of people and like who they are in case you need it, which is really good. Like I said, I didn't really have too much trouble following who characters were for the most part. I felt like it wasn't too difficult for me to catch on to. I was afraid though that I was going to have so much trouble, and I wish I would have thought to check the back of the book beforehand, just in case. But this is definitely a great book. I will be keeping this on my shelf. I don't know when I'll ever get a chance or get around to rereading it just because it's massive. But I really did love this book. It was so great. I think it was like a very successful first trip into adult fantasy for me. I'm excited to try more adult fantasy books. I really want to try to read Samantha Shannon's I think it's the Bone Season series, which I think is a pretty long series and it's not finished yet. But basically, this was a very successful reading week and a half for me. I started this, not this Saturday, but last Saturday. So it's been a little over a week. But I don't know how many more times I can say it. This is very successful and I really enjoyed this book very much. I also don't really know what else to say about it without spoiling it. This is one of those books where so much happens that if I say the wrong thing, what if it's a spoiler for somebody? And also just, I don't know how to talk about this book without talking about the whole thing. But I loved it. The characters were amazing. Queen Sabran, at the beginning, I think I said that I didn't really know how I felt about her. By the end of the book, I really appreciated her character so much more than I thought I would. Ede is still my favorite. She is my favorite all the way to the end. I really enjoyed Loth, but poor Loth, he has, by the end of this book, all the characters, especially in the West, kind of have to, like, you know, start questioning their beliefs and stuff in some ways. But Loth seems to have to face every single one of his beliefs head on at so many different points And he has to, like, he doesn't get to just, you know, sit and ruminate and think. It's like he just gets told this information and he has to make a decision based off this new information that completely changes what he's known his entire life. But just all that to say, I love this book. It was really good. I'm very happy I read it. If you get a chance, if you are interested in adult fantasy and you want to give this big thing a try, I recommend it. I did listen to the audiobook on and off for the second half of the book, and it was actually really good too. It was nice to like read along to it. Anyways, though, if you've read The Priory of the Orange Tree, please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll talk to you later.